Good morning, Facebook peeps. It's Dr. Antonio with live Monday morning talk. And today's topic is about health and success continued. It's going to be an interesting conversation about this topic. But before I get into the actual topic, just wanted to say a couple things. One, as a reminder, I'm doing my Tuesday morning and Friday morning yoga classes this month at 8 a.m. Eastern Time. I'm also doing a cooking class this Saturday from 10 to 1 Eastern Time. And registration is required before Wednesday so that I can get out the recipes and everyone can go shopping for their ingredients. And then they get the link for the class on Saturday. And so you'll have enough time to get all that set up beforehand. And also, I'm considering switching from the live talks on Mondays on Facebook to a YouTube channel as soon as I get some things worked out. Um, and then once that happens, then what'll probably happen is I'll do a live talk there and save the link and then put it here on the Facebook. And then you guys can still have access to it and still comment in the comment section and private message me as usual. It might be better to organize things on YouTube than here. But I just wanted to give you guys a heads up, so stay tuned. Once that happens, then you'll see it as it's done, as the link is presented. So today's topic about health and success. And so one of the things that has inspired me to talk about this particular topic in the way I am going to today is, it's often, in my case, especially working with holistic medicine like Ayurveda, that I hear people just, struggle with health issues, And in fact, it's interesting for me that whenever I even go to like a Starbucks or go out to a restaurant or I'm waiting in line somewhere, or I'm in a supermarket somewhere, or I'm in a car and like windows down and I hear someone coughing and they're smoking a cigarette or they're drinking that ice chilled beverage and they're overweight and they're overweight and they're drinking this cold beverage and they're coughing and coughing and coughing. And it's just really interesting because for me, in my line of work, as part of my job as an Ayurvedic doctor and holistic healthcare provider, is that I'm a detective. I notice all the little things that eventually accumulate to big things. And I work with patients day in and day out. And as we go through our history, as we go through what's happening recently, this is what Ayurveda knows to be the tools that help us understand the person in their wholeness and also ideally prevent further things from happening, prevent other diseases from happening. And, this is where Ayurveda can seem predictive, but it really is based on a long-term based system science that has been established for thousands of years that we are trained to look for the little things that accumulate into the big things. And in doing so, then we can actually have a healthier and happier life. And this is what we talked about last week as far as like the goals of life according to Ayurveda and how we accomplish that with good health. And so understanding that the little things build up to the big things. It's not that often that you went from having no health condition to over a sudden having a big health condition. Like cancer doesn't just come out of anywhere. It usually is progressive over time. And in Ayurveda and even Chinese medicine, we look for more of the subtle signs that build up. And as I was telling one of my patients this week, that in Western medicine, first of all the medicines, all the different systems of medicine can contribute to the planet in so many ways. They have so many benefits, all of them, and they all have at least one disadvantage. So Western medicine is learning a lot about integrative philosophy, but it is the best in emergency medicine. In general, Western medicine, is a system that's cultivating, over the past couple hundred years, just about. And, when the labs are drawn and something is found, that means something was there long enough to establish itself in the lab work to begin with. So in Ayurveda, we look at the little things that build up to the big things. So the things that we look at will not show up in labs when they're really just, small. Something as simple as, wow, sometimes I just get gas every time I eat, whatever you might eat that causes you gas right after. Or you get a stomach ache. or you get hyperacidity after eating that little thing. But then you go get labs done, and you'll get an endoscopy done and colonoscopy done, you know, and they'll say everything looks good. But when you go see an Ayurvedic doctor, or you go see a Chinese medical doctor, we're like, oh, let's look at your diet, let's look at your lifestyle, let's look at other things that you're doing to really contribute to why this might be happening. So if that piece is neglected, then of course, by the time the labs pick up something, that means it's been there long enough and established itself long enough in your physiology to create a domino effect of health issues. So understanding how to look for the little things. And, the interesting thing is, so often people will complain about symptoms. Least often is the case that people will actually jump on it immediately. For instance, this time of year, sometimes because of the dryness and the cold in the atmosphere, people get a little tickle in their throat, or a tickle in their ear, or a tickle in their nostril, or a dry little itchy eye, so it's a little tickle in the eye. And no one really thinks twice about it. Like, I'll put some Visine, I'll clean my ears out, I'll brush my teeth, and the tickle, I'll just have a cup of tea, provided it's the right tea. And, sometimes that might work, sometimes it doesn't. But if that's happening, those little things are happening, that's a sign that something is starting to establish itself, or at least en route to establishing itself if it's not addressed. It's like that little dryness, that little cough that you're just like, oh, it's no big deal, it'll pass and I'll keep doing what I'm doing. And then next week you have a cold. That cold could have been prevented at least a week before. So if the cold doesn't get managed, then it can become bronchitis, and then it can progress into, pneumonia. It's a progressive condition. Like, it's just, when something is not addressed, it goes to the next level. When it's not addressed at that level, it goes to the next level. And we sit around. A lot of people sit around, don't make time for these little things that show up. And that's the stuff that gets people into trouble. And so we have to think about, like, being more conscious of ourselves, taking the time for ourselves. Because I promise, when you address those little things that start today, and you address them today, they're least likely going to continue tomorrow and next week. And then, you're cursing things, you're saying what an inconvenience it is for me to be sick, I don't have time for this. And the body's like, well, if you made time for me last week, you wouldn't need to take the extra time off of work this week. But we're so lazy. Like, there's a level of laziness, there's a level of ignorance, there's a lack of disciplining. And, I'm not saying this starts from 0 to 100 overnight. It takes time to cultivate this. We start with what we could do today. It's like, oh, I have a cough, I have a dryness, I'm constipated today. What can I do today and tomorrow to jump on this so that this doesn't snowball? Because if you make time for yourself, you'll make time to listen even more so, and you'll make more time to support your health. And then again, when you're feeling healthy, and this health is sustaining, then that's the success, because then you don't have to be bothered by the inconvenience of being sick while you're doing stuff in the world. This time of year, and maybe not so much this time of year because of COVID, but historically, this time of year, November and December, are the months where people accumulate enough issues in their systems, in their body, in the digestive system. The sleep adds up to, like, sleeplessness or disturbed sleep, or any of these things, inconsistent sleep, inconsistent meals, running and going, stressing because all the holiday stuff that's coming up. Year after year after year after year, if not through the holidays, during the holidays, definitely post-holidays, the post-holiday blues in January, which happens to sometimes coincide with people getting more seasonal affective disorder issues. People get sick. And it's like, what are they doing? And I've seen this over and over again. And, for myself, like, long time ago, probably a couple decades ago, when I was definitely, like, following the rat race and I was not taking care of myself. And then even, like, 10, 15, almost 20 years ago, prior to Ayurveda, like, I was, still part of the rat race. And now I know the year cycles, and I know seasons, and I know the weather, and I know how to treat each day individually within the context of the season. And I know when holidays come around, and I know the tendencies of when people get sick the most. and when people are least sick. And so because of that, in my own personal experience, I least likely ever get sick throughout the year. If I really push certain components in a negative direction, then of course I'm going to get sick. And next week we're going to talk about the Tripastamba, which is the three pillars of health. That when we maintain health in that direction with those three pillars, then that's a way of supporting health so that we can understand what causes us to get sick. But, we're discussing part of that today. What causes us to get sick is when we don't pay attention to the little things. We don't make time for self-care today. We say, oh, I'll stop smoking next week, or I'll wait till November 1st to stop smoking. Well, you could get congestive heart failure between now and then you get sick, and then because you waited. But if you would have stopped that cigarette or started weaning off the cigarette today, then you would have at least prolonged your life a little bit longer so that maybe you wouldn't have gotten a diagnosis, And being overweight doesn't happen overnight, and getting sleep issues doesn't happen overnight. It happens during the night, usually, but so there's so many things, and we don't make time for it. And people complain over and over and over again. Oh, I wish I lost weight. Oh, I wish I had more energy. Oh, I wish I wasn't depressed. Oh, I wish I wasn't so anxious. Oh, I wish I wasn't always getting colds. Oh, I wish I wasn't getting allergies. Oh, I wish I wasn't getting this hyperacidity. Well, then do something about it. You can do something about it. You just have to put your mind to it. This is why Ayurveda says that it's very important that when, as Ayurvedic doctors and representatives of Ayurveda, that we are, holding space, and that we are understanding how to take each person in the context of like where they're at and walk them through as patiently as possible. But it requires discipline. It requires commitment. This is a no joke system, and it shouldn't be, because it's a medical system. Forget all that woo-woo stuff that you hear that's associated with Ayurveda and all these one-shot plans of all these things. With any of the things, there should not be a one size fits all kind of way to address health. We're so much more intricate and whole as whole beings that way, to be considered as part of everyone else equally all the time. Certain fundamentals, of course, we're all equal in the oneness of consciousness and the oneness of the heart. We all have anatomy and physiology, and we have things that do things in the body, and all the burp and fart, like all these things. We all have that, of course, but not much more than that. We are individual beings and have our own individual lives and stories and histories, and we can rewrite a lot of the history of our health based on what we do today, so that we can have a better moving forward chapter to read in our life and vitality. It's worth it. We're totally worth the investment. That's the success. Being able to experience life in its fullest version with joy and contentment, and with minimal amount of physical ailments and discomfort as much as possible. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again. When people say, oh, we're going to die of something anyway. Of course we are. We have to die. That's the reality of life. That's part of life. The best teacher to life is death. So when we know death is lurking at the end of every breath, that exhale could be the last exhale, then of course we're going to enjoy life a little bit more and make it so. But we don't have to fall apart doing it. This is what Eastern medicine says. Not even just Chinese medicine, not just Ayurvedic medicine. We don't have to fall apart. It's not necessary. When we do, it's mostly because of the choices that we are making. And can we make better choices starting today? And I know it's going to be painful for some people who've never done anything like this before, of course. But this is why in Ayurveda, we only work with people that are absolutely ready. And then there's a stop and go pace, there's a slow pace, there's a quick pace. But, the effort has to be there, the discipline has to be there, the commitment has to be there, and you're worth it. It's not even that you're just committing to me as a process, as the captain of the ship of your health, but it's you. You are the center of your universe, and I'm here to support you in creating a bigger, broader, grander, inspiring, lively, passionate life that is capable of being accessed by the choices that I can help you with, that you can help yourselves with. Because at the end of the day, you have to go to bed with yourself. And so ideally, fall asleep nicely. Why not? And then wake up refreshed and start the next day as a new chapter. Every day is a new chapter when you wake up with fresh eyes. So I'm going to end on that note. This conversation will continue, and whether it's live next week on here or through YouTube, and I'll share that link. And um, always feel free to message me, private message me. If you can join my yoga classes, definitely get to me so that you can register. If you can join my cooking class, definitely get to me so you can register before Wednesday. And I look forward to seeing you guys again soon. Have a great rest of your day.